guys, welcome back to another video. Alright, so today I'm taking a look at Neca's Iron Maiden Pharaoh Eddie figure from the album Powerslave. Let's check it out. Alright guys, and honestly I haven't been this excited for a figure in a long time. Iron Maiden is one of my all-time favorite bands, probably in my top 3 favorite bands of all time. And when I found out that Neca was coming out with Pharaoh Eddie from my favorite album of all time, Powerslave, I was ecstatic. Powerslave was released September 3rd of 1984, and I received it February of 1985 for my birthday. Yeah, I know, I'm getting old. And I haven't opened this box to check Eddie out yet, but just from the looks and admiring him through this plastic window, I can't wait to take him out. So you can see Pharaoh Eddie right there in the box. You see the amazing artwork by Derek Riggs right there for the album Powerslave. Turn it around to the side, we have some more Powerslave artwork, and on the other side. And here's the bottom of the box, just in case you guys want to see that number. All right, so that's enough for the box. Let's take them out. All right, so here's everything out of the box. And let me give you guys a nice close-up of Pharaoh Eddie from the album Powerslave. And holy crap, he is way cooler than I ever expected. But let's put him down for a second and let's check out this backdrop, because this was a nice surprise. I had no idea that this was gonna be the backdrop. And if you guys are familiar with the Powerslave album, you're gonna know that this is the back cover of the album. It's the same amazing artwork by Derek Riggs. And when you're talking about Derek Riggs, you cannot go wrong, especially when you're talking about the album covers that he did for Maiden. I mean, he basically created Eddie. All right, so let's get back to Pharaoh Eddie here. Let's give you guys a nice close-up of his face and check out the sculpt and detail on that face. And he has more of a snarly grin right there. That is not exactly album accurate. If you see right there, that is the album and that's Eddie's face. That doesn't bother me too much because I love that snarl right there. He just looks so badass. Look at the colors here. This blue and gold, this is fantastic. The colors just pop under these lights, and hopefully that's coming through on camera like I can see it here. And yes, his mummy bandages are real cloth, just like down here. Oh, we do have some Velcro right there. See that? All down through his legs, he's all mummy wrapped, and look at his feet. That is awesome. So let's open this up and see if he's wrapped all the way through, and yes he is. Let's see this leg here. And I can take that right off. Check it out. So yes, he is 100% completely wrapped in those bandages, except for his head, his hands here, and that's it. And let's take a closer look at these bandages. They're very weathered looking, very distressed. I mean, we even have little pieces coming off right there to make it look really old. Even over here, we have some more frayed threads that are coming off. I love it. And then on the back here, we have some black gunk right there that makes it just look like it's really dusty, really dirty, which is great. I want to see more details like that coming from Neca when you're trying to make some of these figures look really old, very distressed, very weathered. And he's a mummy. He should look old and distressed and weathered. Except for this piece right here wrapped around his waist and legs. It's very clean looking, very bright blue. The same bright blue that we see throughout his head here and throughout this piece around his neck. And you can see this is pretty highly detailed, whatever you call this thing that's around his neck and shoulder area. And check out the belt around his waist here. You can see a little snake and wings if you look very closely. Except this isn't a shiny gold as you can see up here in his head and around his shoulders. It looks more of a dark yellow. And I just noticed turning it around to the back here, this belt can come off. Now he seems to be made of all hard molded plastic, even his head here, except for this piece around his neck and shoulders right here. And his belt right here is soft and pliable, but everything else seems to be hard plastic. Now let's take a look at his mummified hands right here. Now that is some detailed work. Excellent paint job, excellent sculpt on the outside of his hands. And if I turn it around here, you can see his fingers. That is fantastic work. All right guys, let's talk about his articulation. All right, right, let's start with his head. First, let's take his head off. It actually comes off very easy, and then just on a standard ball peg. So we should have some pretty nice movement with his head. His neck itself doesn't move, just the actual head that's sitting on the ball peg. So obviously we can spin his head all the way around, but what does it look like tilting? We're not gonna get much of a head tilt based on how his head is right here. So that's stopping his head from moving left to right easily. Now let's see what we can do looking up, and that's about it. And looking down, so I was wrong. He doesn't have the greatest head movement in the world, but I don't care. Next, his shoulders. Looks like we have pretty decent range of motion in his shoulders here. Let's see if I can spin his shoulders all the way around, and no, we cannot. Well, this side we can. I just don't want to rip any of his mummified bandages, which I'm not, because it looks like it's separate right there, so we're all good. So what's up with this side? This side right here is very stiff. I cannot move his arm up any more than this on his right arm, and I'm not gonna force it, so let's move on. Take a look at his elbows. It looks like he is not double jointed in his elbows, but we get that type of motion out of it. And then go down to his wrist. We can spin his wrist all the way around, and do we have a hinge? Yeah, look at that. Very nice hinge in his wrist. So we have absolutely zero upper torso or lower waist articulation in Pharaoh Eddie. I cannot really move him at all, but he does have a slight movement right here if I bend him forward and back. But sideways, nothing. And when I mean slight movement, you're seeing everything that I got with this figure right here. So I actually took these off of Eddie just so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. There is absolutely zero movement right here, except for just slight movement forward and backwards. And now that those are off, I can show you the legs a little bit better. So let's see what kind of a split we can do. And yes, excellent splits. So let's try the opposite way. Hopefully I don't rip anything. And yeah, not bad at all. Very good range of motion in his legs. So let's talk about his knees. And they are not double jointed, and not the best knee movement, as you can see. So let me try the other side, and basically the same deal. I can't even get a straight 90 degrees out of it. But once again, that's not a big deal, because most likely you're gonna have him standing up and not really posed in any kind of action stance anyway. Let's go down to his feet. They do not swivel at all, and there is no ankle rocker, but I can point them up to about right there, and pointing down, they always fare better. As you can see, very nice movement pointing down. All right, that's enough of his articulation. Let's talk accessories. All right, so we only have two accessories right here. We have his Pharaoh staff and his Pharaoh sword. And then we have this little piece right here, and I'm not exactly sure what this is. It might just be a cap for the very bottom of his staff here. And it doesn't really say on the box, and every single product shot that I've seen on NECA's website doesn't really show this piece right here. So I'm just gonna guess that it fits on the bottom right here once we have it in Eddie's hand. So let's take a look at Eddie's staff right here, and this thing is long. I mean, standing up next to Eddie, Eddie is 8 inches tall, and you can see it has at least an inch on Eddie. And taking this out of the packaging was very scary, because this looks like it's very fragile. It looks like it's all the same color, that darker yellow goldish color, sort of what you see right here on his belt. And you can see it does differ slightly from the shiny gold that's on his head and around his shoulders here. And then check out the detail on the top of his staff here. There's that same cobra and same wings that we saw on his belt. Except on the staff here, the cobra's wrapping his tail right around the staff and ends right about there. And now let's check out his sword here. So we have that same gold and dark yellow color, except we have a blue ankh on the bottom here, which looks really cool. You can see we have some nice detail right there where Eddie's supposed to hold it right by the handle. But once again, just like the staff, these are extremely flexible. They just seem very, very fragile. So you can see just how floppy this thing is. So let's let him stand up like that, and there you go. So yeah, this would make sense being a separate piece, because you couldn't put that staff through his hand if it was already on there. And so awesome. So I just switched the staff from his right hand to the left hand, because that's how all the product pictures that I've seen online look. Not that it matters, I just want to match what they're doing just for whatever reason. And as you can see, I put his sword in his right hand here. Let me see if I can stand him up real quick. There he is with the sword and staff. Let me get him closer. In his hand. So yeah, guys, this is easily one of my favorite figures to release from NECA this year. And yes, I know I'm a bit biased because I am such a big Iron Maiden fan, and yes, Powerslave is my favorite album of all time. So naturally, if NECA comes out with a decent looking Eddie figure, I'm gonna love it. And this Pharaoh Eddie went beyond my expectations. The sculpt on his head and face, the colors that they use, the distressed and worn out weathered bandages that's wrapping him, and they wrap his whole entire body. They didn't even skimp out by putting this little thing here and not putting bandages there just to save some money. He's 100% bandaged, except for his hands and head, of course, like I mentioned before, but you guys know what I mean. And he's not my only Eddie figure either, so I did pick up the Iron Maiden Trooper figure, as you can see right here. And no, I never did a review on him. I never even took him out of the box. It's still sealed, as you can see right there. But I'll give you guys a nice look at the back of the box for this Eddie from the Trooper. And as much as I love the Trooper Eddie, I think the Pharaoh Eddie is way cooler in my book. And I also have these Legacy of the Beast figures, and I'm not even sure who makes these. It just says under license to Maiden Collectibles. So this one's from Fear of the Dark. This one right here is from Number of the Beast. That is awesome. And then the last one right here, we do have the Cyborg Eddie from Somewhere in Time. And I don't remember, I think NECA is also making a Killer's Eddie, and I cannot wait for that one. That one has the potential to be even better than the Pharaoh Eddie. Alright guys, that's pretty much it for this video. What do you guys think of NECA's Iron Maiden Pharaoh Eddie from the Powerslave album? If you're a collector and an Iron Maiden fan, he is an absolute must-have. Now I will leave links below in my description box where I picked him up. And let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Pharaoh Eddie. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please give me that thumbs up. Please subscribe. And go!
Gather all around me, little pickaninny.